Are you strong enough to think against the grain? Take this test. Start with right and wrong. Do you take your cue from the crowds, the news, the loudest voice? Do you agree because they are outraged and you are afraid not to? Morality by default. Is your conception of morality the product of quiet reflection, premised on excellent principles for which you are willing to be unpopular? Can you observe a just outcome for someone you don't like and still say, that was the correct determination? Or do you flame with anger because those you hate did not come to harm? Are you strong enough to think against the grain? How about work? You spot the mistake, sense the error, see the problem coming. Do you raise your hand or just let it be? Can you disagree with those in power when it matters that you do so? Or is it easier, safer, more expedient to hold your peace? When the entire bandwagon launches in the wrong direction, do you get on, switch off and let it happen? Or raise your voice, stand your ground, become the only dissenter? What if they're doing something trendy but immoral? Can evil count on your silence? That's all it needs from you. Or are you strong enough to think against the grain? What about friendships? It's one thing to stand up to your enemy, but another entirely when it's someone you care deeply about. Do the morals bend? Does the language coarsen, the standards slacken, so that you may fit in? Do you do things you will regret for fear that you may be the odd one out? Or do you lead, set the tone? Are you the one who shows character by taking the stand? Doesn't mean you have to be unfriendly, but it does mean that you have to be a leader, not the weak one who goes along to get along. It's hard to live by principles, but you may be surprised to find that it changes the power relationship, gives others the courage to join. Are you strong enough to think against the grain? Let's do your wealth, your goals. Do you spend to be seen to be rich? Or do you live differently to grow genuine wealth in the long run? We all long to be admired. It's a recipe for poverty. Can you think against the grain? Who do you dream of being? Do you have it in you to make the necessary sacrifice? Most never will. What about you? Do you ache enough, burn with sufficient heat to push through the mist and make it a reality when no one is forcing you to, and time is wasting untended? Do you have the strength to think against the grain? And to what causes do you lend your voice, and why? Do you do so out of fear of the crowd? Do you shriek at the common enemy for fear that your group would otherwise shriek at you? Or do you speak seldom, but out of deep conviction when you do? No man is always right. It matters that we remain humble enough to learn. But when the crowd is clearly wrong, and you are the odd man out, can you be trusted to speak the truth, to be its only representative, even if with a trembling voice? The right thing to do is more than a matter of morals. It's also a matter of courage. It's hard to stand alone. Will you commit to being brave enough, strong enough, sufficiently independent of mind to think against the grain?